Cool. Okay, guys, we're super late, so I'm just gonna ask our one and only, last but not least, keynote speaker for the day, who is like one of the most successful poker players in the world. And that is the most boring fact about him. Because he's joining us today to talk about the other way more interesting fact that he's running one of the biggest EA sports team in the world. And he's actually moving that to Sofia. So, Benjamin Rolle, please, the stage is yours. Tell us how you're planning to do this amazing stuff from Bulgaria.
Hello, everyone. We're not about to move to Bulgaria. We already moved to Bulgaria. So already it happened. We have a massive gaming facility right by the airport. And our plan is to build some Bulgarian esports super teams. And in my talk today, I want to challenge and disrupt some of your beliefs when it comes to building teams. And this is not just for... here we go. This is not just for esports and gaming. You can apply this to your everyday job, to sports in general, if you're a manager, if you're a CEO, but also if you're an employee. And we have identified one critical trait when it comes to building super teams, and especially from scratch with very little budgets. I don't know, here in the audience who is experienced with esports, gaming, G2, FaZe Clan, all these big organizations who have budgets of millions, and you gotta close the gap. And with my experience in poker, mindset, performing under pressure, a lot of money is at stake. In 2019, I decided it's the time to get into esports. And as I said, there was one critical trait we identified over and over again that is very important to building teams. And no, it's not knowledge, it's not diligence, it's not communication, it's not discipline, it's not empathy, it's not the work ethic, it's something else. Yes, all of these are important, but if you find people, players, whatever it is, that are somewhat decent at those, are good, but if they miss this one thing, this project is going to fail. You can try whatever you want. And don't look for harmony. And I've experienced this. I have experienced this with our teams, and I've experienced this with other teams. I have, as a poker player, but I'm also running one of the biggest poker schools in the world. We have countless teams. We're working with countless creators. Looking for harmony is the fastest way to make things not succeed. Yeah, harmony is important to a certain degree, but it shouldn't be your number one priority. And again, you can apply these concepts to your companies. If you work in teams, if you work in smaller projects, startups, sports clubs, it's universal. And let's be honest, ask yourself, when whatever you have been working with, when was ever a time when you were working in a team where there was perfect harmony for a longer period of time? No conflict, no tension. It doesn't exist. So why are most managers, CEOs, coaches looking for harmony? Well, it's pretty simple, because we humans tend to avoid conflict. It's wired in us. It's a survival instinct, and that's cool. You just got to be aware of it. So what should be your priority in hiring? Whether it's signing players, coaches, it doesn't matter. What should it be? It's the ability to solve problems. We are not hiring any players, coaches, or managers where we feel like they are not good at solving problems. Everything else is secondary. The diligence, the discipline, the experience, and so on and so forth. And there are two types of people. There are task-oriented people, there are goal-oriented people. Task-oriented people, and you can again apply this also to our teams, esports teams. If, let's say, there's a false delivery with a vendor, and their job, get it done, fix it, call them, get them to deliver it tomorrow. The task-oriented person will call them and then return to the office of the boss. Yeah, I called them, they didn't pick up. They focus on the task, but they don't focus on solving the problem, which is to get the goddamn vendor back at the office with a delivery. Now, someone who's good at solving problems, which is the key element you want to be looking for, is, hey man, I called the vendor, he didn't pick up, I emailed him, I wrote him on LinkedIn, all my options were running out, what else can I do? You can see he's trying to solve the problem. It's not just about the task that he's trying to accomplish. And later, I will also share some concrete things and questions we are asking when it comes to hiring that will also help you to get your better job, but also more importantly for our esports teams. And that also helped us to become actually quite successful. That's our timeline. We got into esports in 2019. Again, no experience in esports whatsoever. But what we were really good at is bringing people on a higher level with their performance. So we went into PUBG in 2019, built a team completely from scratch. Unknown players, helped them immediately qualify for the European PUBG League in Berlin. Competed there for 2 years, constantly played on the highest level, completely unknown team. Before COVID hit, we were competing with Team Liquid, FaZe Clan, you name it all. We went into StarCraft 2. We signed a retired pro, and the same year he made runner-up in Katowice. Then we went into Valorant. We had to rebrand to Acend because of some gambling associations with Acend, just the right thing. And we scouted a team, built a team from scratch again, became the first European champions, and the same year also the first world champions. We picked up a female Valorant team. We wanted to invest into the female gaming industry as well. We assembled completely unknown players, barely top 50 in Europe, and we made it a consistent top 3 MIA team, battling with G2 and BBL consistently until we left the game. We went into Halo, picked up the best team, European champions, the only team that we beat American teams. We went into Apex, constantly for 2 years in a row, qualified for all international majors, finished 3rd at a global series. We went into PUBG, we signed a German roster, put a team together, European champion 2nd place, also global series 2nd. Last year also Valorant Ascension 3rd place. I think some of you might know us from our Valorant success. Obviously we also had a lot of failures. Usually I like to start with what are the things I believe in, what are the things we do. I usually don't care so much who is someone, I care more about what are your beliefs, what do you stand for. But yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of Acend Club and Raise Your Edge. I'm a professional poker player, coach, and content creator. You can find me on my socials, BenCB or BenCB789 or Raise Your Edge if you want to find out more. But what is it that I do stand for? More in the business context. First, practicality. And this is more, I'm very tired of a lot of the generic talks that are going on and yeah, let's more make money, let's do more this. I'm someone who's very, very practical, and this is what you can expect from me. That's what players can expect from us, from me. And for me, it's more about how can you help me or us instead of what have you achieved. You probably hear it left and right. I have 10 years experience in marketing. Who cares? Trends that have been working 2 years ago, the scene is so rapidly changing. And if you're not adapting to trends, if you're not identifying new trends, how the algorithm changes, what the audience wants, you're gone. All right? So I really don't care 10 years experience, 2 years experience. I care how good are you at solving problems. And self-reflection. What irritates you for more than 15 seconds is on me. Now, you might wonder what has it to do with problem solving, because these two things are fundamentally important at becoming good at problem solving. So I can ask you, or I can tell you, I don't like your blue hat. You might wonder, what the fuck is he talking about? All right? Because that's true. But if I would say something personal and irritates you, there's always a little bit of truth in it. If I read comments online, people insulting me, right? Haters, you know, we all know them. Insulting my poker game. It's like, I had a bad session, maybe I didn't play well, or they insult one of our teams, right, the haters on Twitter. It triggers me. Well, but there's some truth in it, because I do believe the same. I was like, was it the right team? Have we done enough? So yeah, there is a little bit of truth of what the haters are saying, even if it's super disrespectful. And of course, it bothers me for a day or two thinking about it, but obviously I've been doing a lot of work on it. So I understand it, a lot of self-reflection, right? What is really true and what are just some bullshit triggers within me. Because those are very important, and this is a never-ending cycle. First, it needs the self-reflection to identify what is the truth, what is on me. Then you can apply the practicality, constantly putting in the work, doing the things just of talking. Not just reading another book and attending another seminar. No, also doing the work when you come home and doing this on a constant basis, and you do it on a daily basis. And this is what we're doing with our teams. And this is something we instill them. And this is why we also have been very successful with our esports teams. Now, we've also had a couple of failures, not gonna lie, but majority of the times we have done a pretty good damn job with our teams. So when we won the champions, what I would call was a masterclass of problem solving. So Valorant, for those of you who don't know this, was probably most of you know Counter-Strike 2. Valorant is like a similar shooter. You have 5 players, you have a coach. These are young kids, 18, 19, 20 years old, just left mommy's house, signed their first contract, getting like 3, 4, 5K per month. Pretty professional, they have agencies. I'm not a big fan of it because they're getting pampered, right? And of course they develop an attitude. Who here, leaving home, playing a video game, and then you get 5 grand a month for playing a video game? Who would have not lost the ground under your feet? So there were a lot of problems. And in December, when we qualified for the World Championship in Berlin, the team was about to release a player, and we made changes, which was insane. But with our mental coaches, we managed to solve the problems they had, and they become the first world champions. Now, what happened in 2022, for those of you who followed our journey, we had a couple of problems. We became too complacent. I'm not saying we became lazy or anything, but here's the thing. If you become successful, it's a lot harder to stay successful than to become successful. Because now suddenly you're going to have all these voices telling you how good you are, and you can chill a bit and work a little bit less. Well, the others are looking at what you were doing, copying your strategies, copying your meta, higher levels of entitlement. So we should have been a lot harder enforcing penalties quicker, swapping out benching players, and when the problem started in March, it was already too late. I had a feeling, but it would have been crazy changing a world championship roster, the first Valorant champions ever. So the effort we put in back then to become world champion, we would have needed to double or triple it to keep our players in check, and just to keep the same level of success to constantly qualify for the world championship events. So now in 2024, we are reconsidering the state of esports and various titles. It's a pretty bad ecosystem. We try to focus more on the business side of things. Esports, the business itself, you have the teams and you have the business operations, which is finding sponsors, marketing, content creators. You're running a media team. It's a pretty intense business. And this year, because I was just bragging with our success, we kind of sucked in PUBG and Valorant, which are the 2 games we're currently in. But these are also learning lessons for us. And when it comes to teams, and this is the topic of this talk, only your way will work. And I've seen this a lot where managers, CEOs, coaches try to go different ways, and then you spread your focus and you spread attention. And yeah, it might sound selfish and arrogant, but again, you can also be a dominant, decisive, and ambitious person, yet be very kind and empathic. I don't know if you follow us on social media, a lot of the players are posting online how good they felt with us and how well taken care of. But if you try to go too many different roads, it's not going to work out. And as a CEO, as a leader, it's always your fault if things are going wrong. If you manage a project, it's your fault if it's going wrong, because you selected the members that fucked up. And if they're successful, it's their credit. But that's what we're signing up for. And yeah, some like it and some are not meant for it. So I would, don't nail me down on the numbers, 80% is going your way. 15% is getting the feedback from your inner circle, that your trusted business partners, maybe very good friends that look into the business or follow things with you and then give you input. Hey, Bandman, I think you're not on the right path here. 5% getting feedback from employees, talking to them, listening to them. This is still very, very important. But when it comes to the practical application, you got to determine the way. And especially in esports, it's tremendously important to even focus and force your philosophy anymore. I mean, come on, we're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids. The minute it's something is a new hype, they're going to jump on this, they're going to jump on that, they're going to jump on this, right? So especially when you work in an industry with young people, you got to be relentlessly dominant and showing your way. Again, you can still be a kind and respectful and empathic person, but they're like babies. They try to test their limits. They try to poke you. Maybe I can come a little bit late, and then you allow it, and then another one comes late, and then it's a snowball, and I can tell you, it will happen. And then you think, they're gonna know. No, they don't. And that's why all our teams from the very first moment had access to mental coaches, where we set up the framework. This is where you can operate in, and there's still enough room where they can discover themselves. And if you have a team full of problem-solving personalities, nothing is gonna stop you. And we have done this, and we didn't even have the budgets like all the big organizations, and we constantly kicked their ass. So, but if you have a team full of task-oriented people, yeah, you can succeed, but it's going to come with a lot of work. It's not going to be fun. It feels draining. You feel like you're burning out. Think for yourself those projects. Was it really enjoyable? Why was it not so enjoyable? Again, we can apply a lot of this onto whatever the projects and teams you're working on. Maybe the people you're working on might be a little bit older, but typically the projects and things that are draining and feel really hard is because the people we're working with. But again, if you were in charge, you probably didn't designate the proper roles. So, you can still work with task-oriented people. You just got to give them the proper roles. But for esports teams where it's extremely competitive every single day, look at football clubs. They win a game, next day they analyze. Still, what could we have done better, even though it was a banger game? And if you have one player who takes it too personal, doesn't take the criticism, doesn't understand it's about the grand scheme of things, it's about winning as a team, you're going to fail. Just one bad person, say with these kind of toxic traits, it's going to fall apart. So, just some examples that we like to discuss. Again, when I do interviews, hiring people for Acend, hiring people for Raise Your Edge. When we look for signing players for our rosters, then it looks a little bit different. Usually the coaches are doing the work, and then they talk to us, getting our feedback. A question I like to ask, imagine scenario A, which could be you work with an editor and he's not delivering the video in time. How do you approach this? How do you talk to him? How do you make sure next time you get the video, right? If he says, well, it's not my fault, task-oriented person. Sometimes a task-oriented person can also be coachable, and you can train him in this direction, but some are just uncoachable, or they're just not ready yet. Tell me about past experiences and challenges, and how did you overcome them? Very open question. I let them talk. Let's see. And my favorite one, what negative surprises I will encounter working with you? And here I would push them to give me a proper answer. This bullshit of, I don't have weaknesses. No, sorry. Everyone has weaknesses, and that's totally cool. Last time when I signed our partner manager, he gets very angry and very upset if people are not delivering, and sometimes then others will feel it, and yeah, sometimes he pushed it too far, and then there were issues with this. Now I'm prepared. We never had an issue since then. Because I knew he reacted like this, we smiled at each other. It's like, fuck yeah, that's me. And then things become easier. And for building our teams, back then when we had the World Championship roster, we want to make sure we cover a mix of different personality traits. We had the leader, called a mentor, the secret mastermind. Often he's calm and introvert. He's like the second leader, bone cold. The always positive, Starkso, funny guy. The superstar, or young talent, CNET. And the adaptive killers. That was very important to us to focus on the, to make sure they're good synergies. If you have 3 superstars, if you have 3 introverts, it's not going to work. I think CNET was trialing for 10, 15 different teams before us. Nobody wanted to pick him. Turned out to be the European superstar. And obviously the coach can make up for lack of certain personality traits But if you have too many of one specific trait, it's likely not going to work out. So now you might wonder, well, Ben, if you had all the success, remember earlier I said there are the esports teams for an esports organization and there's the business operations. We weren't doing so well on the business operations. I'm a very competitive person. I wanted to win, and I thought, I'm going to go this way. We want to be really good at what we're doing with our teams. Maybe I was romanticizing it too much. Again, all my fault. We're not focusing enough on partnership, on sponsors. Started too late, focusing on content production and content creators. Too late, we started heavily focusing on this like a year or 2 years ago. If you check our channels, we have some pretty epic formats right now. We're running the most popular European Valorant podcasts on YouTube. We get incredible numbers on Twitch with around 3 million unique viewers per year. And I also hire task-oriented people and expecting them to solve problems. Typical example, you have a social media manager. A social media manager is supposed to grow the channels. But a lot of them just, hey, I click post. That's my job. Well, that's the task, right? But if you have guys that understand, that are motivated, hey, we want to grow the channels. Let's learn from mistakes. Let's look at the analytics. That's problem solving. I just put him in the wrong position. And that was my fault. Too big of a focus and overspending on teams and performance, again, helped us to be very successful, but didn't bring the revenue and sponsors needed. And now, what is our plan in Europe and what's our plan specifically in Bulgaria? As I said, strengthening our core as a business and entering titles only with a healthy ecosystem. At our peak 2022, we're in 5 different games, I think, with Rainbow Six, Halo, PUBG, Valorant Male, Valorant Female, Apex, and was way too much. Even though we're doing pretty good in all of them, or most of them, it was just not worth it. Now we focus on our German PUBG team, where we have a pretty big fan base, and it's content creators, our content formats, and constantly observing the industry and seizing opportunities. And obviously constantly raising funds, finding investors coming on board with our existing shareholders, so we can reinvest in the content creation side of things, in the partnerships, building the sales team, and building stable revenue streams. We had this year our grand opening in our gaming facility, 800 square meters, 2 practice rooms. Some of you guys that I recognize were already there. And here our plan is to support and help building the gaming and esports infrastructure in Bulgaria. It's not going to be easy. It's a long project, but it's going to be fun. Scouting and building a future Bulgarian Counter-Strike 2 powerhouse team. I think you guys here have a lot of talent, just like some of them have a pretty big ego, but I think we can make it work. Building content and hype around it. Weekly shows, interviews, press conferences from our facility, using traditional sports as a role model and replicating it for esports. And then unifying the Bulgarian gamer scene to support the team, and which we have done the same, also not just in Germany, but with other teams as well, and then screening other potential Bulgarian teams and players. Yeah, just the pillars, I think this is not so important, and we can wrap it up. So those who can solve problems the best will win. Yes, talent, diligence, work ethic, all important, but none of it matters if you have players that cannot or are not really the ability, the mindset, the self-awareness to solve problems and self-reflect. Don't ignore the red flags. I think all of you guys had it in the past that you've been working with someone in your jobs, or maybe you've been playing in teams as well. It's like, somehow it's not going to work out. Listen to your gut. There is a reason. Go through the pain right now to have this uncomfortable conversation, maybe to split apart, maybe to quit the job, maybe to go somewhere else. Otherwise, the pain in a year, 2 years or later on is going to be a lot bigger. Yes, we have managed to succeed on an astonishing high rate with our teams, but we failed in so many other aspects. So again, it's just a matter, it's a game of odds. I think we found the formula to increase the odds to win with teams. Mistakes will happen. Don't do them twice. If people do the same mistakes twice, then the mistake is not the problem. Those people are the problem. At the end of the day, you can only be as successful, as good as the people you're working with, the people you have hired, and your team can only succeed if everyone signs up to your philosophy, and that philosophy should at least entail solving problems. all right? Even as an employee, even if you work for someone, if you can embody this, yes, there are also a lot of really bad bosses, I know. You're going to be in such a valuable asset, and you're going to pick whatever job you want. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, I don't know if you're that quick of a deliverer or we just pushed you because it's the end of the day, but
It's
that
okay.
was the best, most condensed presentation that I had today. And I personally learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was amazing. Okay, guys, it's super late. People were basically trying to take the entire hall out of here. So there would be no Q&A with Benjamin. He's here in Bulgaria. I mean, he has an 800 square space of amazing gameplays that I would love to visit. So look him up, find him around, catch him later on the amazing after party that we're having after 7, 8, I don't know, 7. I think it's after 7 in Carousel. So hope to see you there. Thank you for staying with us, bearing with us. It's been a long, long day full of really amazing stuff, and honestly.
But I'm the esports guy here. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.